mo bibi akwaba Edudzi Tamaklo NPP National Petroleum Authority acting CEO na oni lawyer Apia Dankwa a senior member in Movement for Change and one other political analyst be up clashing on TV3 ni na Galamsey Hunsensem said ye Ghana Oda Sorano pa enkomo bia ni wa wote danse obeti se Galamsey say ba ni na achi no ye na enim se yewra John Dramani Muhammad ebe sobo but before say be kokuti sa conversation yemfa big congratulations emfama yankasa ye ho ene ye senior national team Ghana Black Stars endra omo ehye ye nmunyam ewo eye Accra yes Accra ye sports study what you say abusuafo yenti nsema Edudzi Tamaklo edibaye any lawyer Apia Dankwa ye ko baye beto so
misusing our environment. If the community people are not involved, there is no way you can do Galamsey in those communities. There is no way the people in Ofin would agree that foreigners should come and destroy their source of drinking water. How is that possible? Look, I listened to my brother Parker Wilson on one of the media Oyeripa, and he tells the program that he decided to go and do an underground, investigation in one of the mining communities. He found out that the chief of the community was deeply involved. The catechist was deeply involved. The teacher in the community was deeply involved. The teacher had recruited young kids, and the kids will tell you, "Yeko akoyam anyano." Gala. The painful aspect is that our communities are the ones encouraging. So if you look, government deploys soldiers. And I gave a classic example. If you look at the Ankobra, the total distance of the Ankobra to its source is 190 kilometers. If you want to stop the activities, you need either the water guards, NIMOS, to be on that water for 24 hours, 7 days in a week. You need to man it 170 kilometers. That's from here to more than in Sawam and beyond. Beyond. That's just the Ankobra. Then you come to the Birim, you come to Pra, and the major other rivers in this country. You need this number of human resources to be on it 24/7. The matters, meanwhile, there are people living in those communities. They are chiefs. Because you see, in this country, you cannot enter somebody's land without the person's permission. No. And looking at the way we fight for land, there have been tribal conflicts in this country because of land issues, land tenure issues. And so, I have always maintained that government can do anything and deploy all the sophistication if we don't involve the indigents, the chiefs, the allodial owners of the respective lands. We will be doing the talk shop and we'll be here. Look, from January when President Mahama took over as the leader of this republic, look at the interventions that he had deployed. By now, our water level ought to have been restored to normalcy. Look, I've asked this question, Roland. Can you imagine for a minute how our water bodies will be looking today with over 400 shamfines on them now? Roland, I'm asking you. Because this government in the past 9 months had destroyed in excess of 400 shamfines. Imagine if those actions were not taken. and those shamfines are on our water body, what will be the state of our water bodies? Imagine a situation where today, under the watch of President Mahama, we have not confiscated over 450 excavators. What will be the state of our forests and water bodies? Imagine over 1,000 water pumps, high water pumps, all on our water bodies today, but for government's intervention. So sometimes I always say, you need to appreciate the effort, where we are coming from, where we have gotten to, and where we desire to reach. Imagine for a minute the Ankobra, the Pra, the Birim, the Ofin, with over 400 shamfines on them day to day, 24 hours. What would have been the state of affairs today? These are verifiable interventions by the President Mahama administration. I have watched in disbelief the work that NIMOS is doing, destroying the various, camps created by these Galamseyers all over the troubled areas. In Ghana here, we know where the Galamsey activities are happening. In fact, only 2 regions currently have been found to be outside the reach of Galamseyers: Volta region and Greater Accra. With the exception of these 2 regions, all the rest, the 14 other regions, one way or the other, are having to grapple with these Galamseyers. And you think there are no community leaders in these communities? How in God's name can you go to a village, handled by a prominent chief, if the chief say, my Asafu group will not allow you to be on our land? So maybe we've gotten to the point where the engagement should not just be at government level. And you see, I have always maintained that, once you make it a government problem, the Galamseyers are happy. You know why? Because it diverts attention from the people who are giving them the concession. And the people giving them the concession are our chiefs. Roland, I want to believe that of all the efforts we put in this Galamsey fight, until we get the prominent chiefs declaring their communities to be no-go area for Galamseyers, also come back after 4 months. Look, this Galamsey conversation has been going on for the past 3 months continuously. The media has been on this. Possibly the media should be asking a critical question. How come that all these efforts by government is not achieving the desired impact? And I'll conclude on this. You see, the only thing that creates a problem is the debt that comes back to the river. Yes. So if we know the source of the debts, how come that we are not able, or the water bodies are not getting cleaner? Why? Because you see, by the time they will leave, another set will start. And like I pointed out, even for the Ankobra alone, 190 kilometers, you need to have 24-hour surveillance on 190 kilometer, of water body. The practical challenges, the logistics, the manpower, it is not a joke. So it is convenient to say, President Mahama, and I'll conclude on this, declare a state of emergency.
Why not?
It's not convenient.
Just convenient for all of us.
But the results, if you declare a state of emergency, right, Prof, you are the professor, and you apply all these tricks, and the chiefs who live in the community still permit people to work under the cover of darkness, what will be the results? We'll come back to square one.
Everybody has to take responsibility.
We all need to be responsible. Do you know that you and I are in Accra, so pain and thinking about people in our various communities? They are not looking at it as a problem.
Yekogala.
And look, now kids are no longer going to school. You know their reason. They make more money if they go to yam, grind the soil and all those things, where should we? Why have we gotten the greed?
At the end of the day, it just speaks to the issue that the strategy is not working. We cannot do the same things all the time and expect different results.
Well, let me take this opportunity to wish your lovely viewers a good morning. Wish my learned friend here a good morning. It's been a long time since we met. It's always a pleasure to share this platform with him and my prof here. I hope we can all have this conversation in service of our country. It's sad. In fact, you notice I'm very quiet this morning, beyond the fact that I'm not too well.
Sorry.
But what is happening with Galamsey, the effects we are seeing is really sad and also very annoying, and makes me wonder whether or not we are benefiting from politics and from government. Because if you ask me, Galamsey is a problem created by politics, and essentially for me is a political what's called problem. Why am I saying that? Galamsey is simply illegal mining without authority, or mining outside the scope, even if you have a license, mining outside the scope of your license, or mining with methods that are unsustainable. And then if you take into consider the fact that one of the fundamental reasons why we choose government is so that they enforce the law, and you consider that Galamsey is not as if it's something that is happening that we are discussing whether to make it illegal, to make it legal. It's already illegal. And to think that we are where we are because of government's fundamental failure to enforce the law, it makes it very, very frustrating and makes me wonder whether we even understand politics. Because when you take the hallowed words of Aristotle, he said politics is what is a master science, which concerns itself with the good of the state and the well-being of the citizens. And if you consider that, then essentially we are not doing our politics well. Indeed, when last week I had some time passed during the regime of Nanado, when Akunta mining issue came up. Nanado came and told all of us that Akunta mining is not involved in Galamsey. So last week when I heard that, apparently the basis for which Untumi has been held before our courts is based on the report of the CID, the same report on the basis for which Nanado said that Akunta mining has not been involved in Galamsey. It makes me wonder, so then why are we even doing politics in the first place? Because the fundamental reason why we are where we are is a fundamental lack of commitment from government to enforce the law. And I think when I use government, I'm trying to be a bit charitable. Over the last 8 years, I think the attack on the environment was taken to a crazy level. And I'm very frustrated, I'm extremely frustrated to think that beyond the fact that our former president, Nanado, shelved a CID report that essentially said that Akunta mining was criminally liable in terms of its Galamsey activities. But the fact that Prof. Report Boateng also gave a report that clearly indicated that persons doing politics were involved in Galamsey, as in said everything, and Nanado shelved it once more for 2 years. But for the fact that it was leaked, we would not even have been aware that such a report existed. You see, for me, I think our politicians need to be serious. All of us, Ghanaians themselves, ought to be serious. We seem to be playing games with our governance system. Because we just go and as in vote, and people will give up powers to also come in and they pretend to be working. Because essentially, the problem is one of lack of enforcement. Last week, were you not worried when what's called? I heard Erastus say that members of the NPP were calling him, trying to get information, so they will use it for their politicking. So the question is, what are politicians? What are they interested in? Are they interested in the proper politics that Aristotle spoke about? The master science that ought to be concerned with
the reality is that the onus and the responsibility now lies with the president and his assistants.
You can't. Let's put it in proper context. Yes, we have 9 months after this president came into power. We have a situation where right now we can't get water. We have a situation where people are free to eat their contumely. You understand? So if you want to handle this situation without placing it in proper context, the proper context is the fundamental lack of commitment by our politicians on both sides of the political divide to tackle head-on this Galamsey issue. Because what happens is that you go and then you make noise, and then the opposition wants to use it as the fastest means of coming back to power. You understand? And so we need to place it in proper context. We need to make Ghanaians understand that we shouldn't create a situation where our politicians will use Galamsey, clearly where they've shown a lack of commitment to fight it, as a means of dribbling their way back into power. We, the Ghanaians, who are the repository of sovereign power, also need to be smart, and we need to be awakened. Because I'm saying that the issue that we are fighting over is an issue that is already an illegality. It's always been an illegality. You understand? You are here talking about strategy. Strategy to do what? It is already an illegality. It is already an illegality. You understand?
Enforce.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. The problem, and that's what I'm saying, is a political problem. It's a problem created by the politicians themselves. Yes, I'm saying that last week, Erastus said that the NPP members who supervised or who, as it took this Galamsey issue to a different level, under the watch of the president, they disposed it. Have the temerity to call Erastus, that give us information. So we use that information to find a way of dribbling our way back into government. It's simply a matter of enforcement. You understand? And we, the sovereign, you understand? We, the sovereign, shouldn't sit down and allow ourselves to be used as pawns in this Galamsey battle. Now, His Excellency John Mahama is in power. He laid out a strategy. His strategy was that he was not going to go after the small fishes per se. He was going to go after the big fishes. Now, Chemaun, to me, has been hauled before the courts. He has asked investigations to be done on his own party's executives, being their national organizer. Organizer and Abang vice. You get the picture. For me, all I can say is that over the last 9 months, I see a sort of renewed commitment in fighting this Galamsey on the part of this president. You understand? Because of the context, and the context is that we've sat down and we've not enforced this for like close to a generation.
So you're saying we allowed the situation to deteriorate?
Yeah, we've sat down.
We should give time.
Not time. We should give support
for us to see results.
We should give support. You understand? We should give support to. We should also look at the regime. As Edudzi was speaking about the chiefs and all, but you see, the chiefs can't help because of the regime. The regime being that even though you own land, if there's any mineral in the land, that mineral has been created as a trust in the president. So it's the president that can give concession. The chiefs can give concession. Indeed, the president is so powerful that when he has given concession, he has the power of eminent domain to take the land. So if you want to really localize the battle, then once we are reviewing our constitution, we need to also review Article 257. And then in the creation of the trust, it shouldn't just be created in the president, but the trust should also be created in the chiefs also, in areas where there are minerals, so that where the concessions are being granted, it will be the president plus the chief granting the concessions, and we should decentralize what's it called a management of our natural resources. Also, and to end, you see, nature has its own way of healing itself. Yes, and nature also has its own way of healing itself, and that's why some of us feel that in some of these areas we should give a temporal ban. Yes, allow nature itself to heal. And then let's have a comprehensive audit, a review of our licensing regime. And then once that is done, and we have a leader who has the commitment to fight and enforce the laws, then we can find a way. But as things stands now, it's really bleak. It's really bleak, and I don't know what to say, but just to hope that we find the commitment to fight this one way or another. I think we will find that commitment if the case against Akonta is seen to its logical conclusion and done quickly. If the investigation against Abanga and against the NDC National Organizer is done quickly, where the executive shows us that he's even ready to prosecute his own people, then I think he can and will have the support of every single Ghanaian in this war that is being waged against us.
Dr. Zutubwani, clearly we need to change the strategy. We need to be harder.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they have arms. The communities themselves are also bearing arms against people who want to come and stop, etc.
Yeah, so Roland, good morning once again. Good morning to my two lawyers, and good morning to our viewers. Quickly, congrats to Black Stars, for qualifying to the World Cup once again. I think since 2006 thereabout, apart from 2018, Ghana has always made it to the global stage, and that's a huge achievement. Again, I think, Roland, I don't know whether you are aware of the Nkwanta South conflict, and maybe TV3 is probably following up on it. I think that you should, as an appeal, because some of my students have vacated, they are afraid going back home, and they keep knocking on my doors. You are talking about the fact that the soldiers who are supposed to be maintaining law and order, as it were, are perpetrating some level of atrocities on them. And it is becoming too much for them to handle. All right. Papa Ray, let me say this. You see, this issue about Galamsey, basically, I have two fears. My fear is probably an attack on the Volta River.
You mean it's coming? It could come to that.
It could come to that.
Why do you say that?
I mean, as lawyer DG was explaining,
it is so far we're told is the last one standing.
Yes. So as lawyer Edudzi was saying, and as the the man you spoke to on, obviously the way these guys are operating, you probably may not know where they are and what kind of strategy they themselves will be coming up with, and the river bodies they may be attacking. And so when it gets to that point, then of course Ghana is going to be affected seriously, because the Volta River gives us about 60% of our energy, right? 60 to 70% of our energy, or even more. You mean in terms of the energy mix, the hydro? Yes. No. Okay, not so probably we will have to look at that. But power generation. When Akosombo is attacked, the Volta River is attacked, it will be a serious disaster to Ghana. So I think that we need to look at this point. My second fear has to do with the politicization of this Galamsey fight, where, NDC blames MPP, and then MPP blames the NDC.
You're right, 65%.
65%, yeah.
No,
so what
Hydro is 34% apparently.
Okay.
We've moved from, yeah.
All right. So what it means is that if the NDC, who is in power, all right, seems to, be blaming the past government, I think that that is not what Ghanaians actually bargained for. The second thing has to do with the MPP in opposition.
You say NDC is blaming the past government?
Yes, for Galamsey.
Currently?
No, I'm talking about general issues here.
Okay.
And if the MPP in opposition is equally blaming the MDC for not fighting Galamsey, then that is also a serious issue. All right. Well, then what it means is that if two elephants decide to fight, then the grass, the trees, the weak ones are likely to suffer. So the problem comes back to Ghana. I feel that these two major political parties should put their heads together. Because in one way or the other, they have been faced with the complications of Galamsey. And they have fought it, from different angles.
So there should be bipartisan approach?
Exactly. To deal with the issues of Galamsey. Now, I feel strongly, apart from that, is that, you see, is it the NIMOS?
Yes.
Okay.
NIMOS.
I think that, about me, my stand on Galamsey has always been the use, to tackle Galamsey as war. So I believe that there should be that level of brute force, allowing the personnel of NIMOS to deal decisively, touch them, those Galamseyers on the river bodies.
You're saying we should do shoot to kill?
You see, for me, I don't want to believe that these people will come and say that Dr. Tutu is not so much into, he doesn't really care about people's lives. But I don't see Galamseyers as people who actually care about Ghanaians and Ghana. So at a point in time, if you have to shoot and kill, you can do so. And they have to do it. Because for me, I don't see these people trying to probably, end whatever they are doing. Maybe the lawyers may disagree with me. Again, I want to find out, I don't know whether Lawyer Pierre Dankwa and Lawyer Edudzi, have seen any law that actually regulates the importation and handling of dangerous chemicals like mercury and cyanide in our constitution. Because my readings have not pointed that to me. But I know that cannabis, when it is found on you, you are in trouble. All right. Cannabis, when found on you, you are in trouble. Why not mercury? Why not cyanide? Why not other dangerous chemicals that can pollute our water bodies and cause serious health implications to us? And so I believe that going forward, one of the things that government can do, it is not just about excavators. But I feel also that I hear, was it for some time now, I think about the past 3 months or so, about 1,200 excavators have been imported into Ghana. To come and do what? To construct roads.
So what so that they tend to assess them?
Oh yes, I understand that. But when they are coming in these large numbers, my question is, how or for what purpose are excavators, coming into Ghana in these large numbers, if it is not for the purposes of Galamsey? So I want to believe that probably there should be some level of discussions that will probably limit the importation of excavators into this country, to probably be one of the ways of which we can, handle Galamsey. And again, I feel that, some of these chemicals, should be restricted. And probably, if there's going to be a law on it, to regulate its importation, usage, and then handling.
Okay. Yeah. Edudzi, so just in 3 minutes, what solutions are there for us going forward? What should we be doing?
I want to applaud the men associated with NIMOS. They are doing this at the peril of their lives. I've given this example and I want to repeat. Unfortunately or fortunately, how our constitution is organized, it does not tolerate extrajudicial killings. That is where the problem is. The laws of this country, even when you have evidence that this person had committed the worst form of crime, including taking human life, the laws requires that you must take the person through the requirements of due process. Because time and again, we have seen that persons who were killed by way of mob action have been found out to be guilty. And because innocent. And because you do not have another life in a freezer, where if you make a mistake, you can go and pick that life again, it becomes very important that we are circumspect. Look, I've always said this. President Duterte of Philippines started the martial law in Philippines in the Mindanao region.
He's not facing the ICC, huh?
Yes, initially he said he was fighting Islamic insurgents, and then now moving into drug trade and used the martial law. President Duterte himself never held a gun to kill any person involved in drug trade or involved in the drug business. But today, as we speak, he is at the International Criminal Court for human rights violations, among others. And so we have a history, and I've always maintained that our soldiers still have on their minds something very fresh. The killing of one of their own in Denchira-Obuasi, Major Mahama. That thing, if you permit our soldiers the benefit of doing shoots to kill, what will record? And the danger is that in international human rights law, there's something they call command responsibility, under whose watch those infractions happen, become the person to be held responsible. So, whereas that argument appears attractive, we also have a constitutional remit within which. And that's why President Mahama, I'll conclude, that's why President Mahama had made it abundantly clear that emergency, or what we call state of emergency, is an option available to him. And once he had a security briefing, that Mr. President, we've gotten to the point where you need to declare a state of emergency, you will not hesitate at all. But now, all the strategies available will be deployed until we get to the point where the last resort will be having to declare a state of emergency. I am very confident that we'll make so much gain in this period that we'll not get to the point where we'll have to declare a state of emergency. Unfortunately, politics, and because of the politics, our friends in the NPP would want to make political gain out of this.
But it's NDC that's in power. They have to.
No, I agree. What I'm just saying is that what is there is their record, solid. And I remember getting to the 2024 election, key personalities associated with the NPP boldly said, Galamsey Nidia, Yenjai. So the sudden Damascus moment, where you want to now move from being Saul to Paul, people can see The audiovisual records are available. President Mahama is focused, is determined that this matter will end under his tenure. Look, the media can help with this process. We have seen what is going on, but President Mahama is so determined and focused to get to the root of this problem.
What should be the solutions?
Yeah, I think it should be a multifaceted approach. First of all, I think the easy one ought to be the enforcement, as enforcing the law. But secondly, we need a restoration of the decimated environment. You understand? I know a lot of discussion has gone on whether dechemisation, but we need to restore our lost environment. And I think sometimes just allowing the environment itself to heal is one of the processes. But then we also need to do what's called radical devegetation in some of the areas, and we must be very intentional about it. There are some species that are known to be able to detoxify the soil, so at least we have to use the scientists to do that, and also to ensure that this Galamsey thing doesn't come again, and that will be probably beyond the enforcement to also look at what's called the legal regime. I must commend and I must commend the government. If there was one thing that was lacking over the last 8 years, it was the commitment. Now I see some commitment and effort.
So you are okay with the commitment?
I think
it should be encouraged.
And I think that calling the CSOs was a master stroke. You understand? And I've been following the efforts of the minister, and I must commend him also. Okay. We need to support them.
You know when the Catholic Bishop Conference came out on this issue. And the meeting with the president, I don't know whether it's the secretary of the Catholic Bishop Conference, said, look, if we knew that this is the extent to which government had helped, that engagement was quite revealing, to the point that the rep of the Catholic Bishop commended government effort. Yes, again, we want to see our water bodies looking cleaner. That's all.
That's all. Yeah, so,
just 2 minutes.
Yes, Roland, I feel that, look, Galamsey, whether we like it or not, we must fight it and fight it to win. Right? For me, I appreciate the efforts so far, and whatever has been done, is a step towards probably fighting Galamsey, a step that the president and his government, is showing in terms of their commitments and all that. But I feel that looking at certain reports coming in, I mean, your discussions with this Ghana Water Company man, obviously is an indication that, look, even though something is being done, water is a problem. Other research reports also indicate that food has become a problem, all right? And even our health is equally in danger. So all in all, as to whether we should continue, moving along certain processes, for Galamsey to end, or to also move along a certain brutal force, to let Galamsey end, it's a decision that probably the president must make. And for me, I believe that our lives are very much important. The food that we eat is very much important to us, and equally the water that we drink. Obviously, I mean, for water, when water and food are contaminated, with dangerous metals or heavy metals, what it means is that you cannot even guarantee, because you can't live without food, you can't live without water. All right. So I feel that even though some commitments have been made, goodwill have been, signaled, I still believe that whatever it takes to win this battle, is now and not tomorrow.
We want to end our climax with a toxicologist, Yakubu Adams. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Roland.
So, how bad is the situation when it comes to the toxins we find in the water and then our foods?
Thank you very much. Good morning to you and your panel members. When it comes to Galamsey, I believe the country is now aware that it's now a major public health concern in Ghana, and it's actually alarming, and maybe you might not see the effect now. Because when we talk about the effects of these heavy metals, especially the mercury and the cyanide, it's actually cumulative, meaning someone exposed to these heavy metals may not see the debilitating or deleterious effects right away. I remember during one of my research, I ended up in one community and I was trying to advise them on the implication of illegal mining, about how it can have maybe congenital effects on their newborns. And I believe everyone actually told me that she has given birth to about six children, and there's nothing like deformed babies. So basically, what we are saying, adding true. But let's all should know that when we talk about these heavy metals or these toxic effects of these heavy metals, we don't see it as one. So Roland, we don't know how long we've been exposed to these heavy metals in our environment. You know, Galamsey started not now, so we don't know how long it has been in our environment.
Yakubu Adams.
It has cumulatively
Yakubu Adams. The Ghana Water Company says they treat the water. Now, again, they use their chemicals to detoxify, so to speak, the water. So, okay, decomicalize. Okay. So now, the question then for you as a scientist, a toxicologist, I would want to ask and know is, if they say the water is safe, then it means that lead and some of those things will be removed, right?
Yes. So I listened to them, Mr. Kluche.
Yeah, because they use polymer or something like that. Polymer.
Yes. So when it comes to Ghana water treatment, they use one of lack of better word, use decomicalization, technically called coagulation.
Are you using decomicalization?
I say in a context. Okay, because everything is actually chemical. So when you're trying to decomicalize something, meaning take away every chemical, including the water itself. But in the sense of the EPA, I think we are focusing on the toxic component of these water bodies. So when they use the term decomicalization, it refers to maybe the chemicals or the exogenous chemicals found in these water bodies. Now, coming back to the point of Ghana Water Company, when it comes to their treatment method, they use the coagulation method, and the coagulation method is just adding coagulants, and we have the alum. So alum is a coagulant, and we also have the polymer. But so to speak, now they've shifted to polymer, but not all treatment plants or earthworks in Ghana actually uses the polymer. So now when you use these coagulants, it doesn't necessarily take away the heavy metals. The heavy metals, when the water is actually contaminated with this heavy metal, the heavy metal continues to be in the water because the coagulant that is being used actually traps the debris, the particles that actually make the water heavy. So I think Ghana Water Company is trying to focus on reducing the turbidity so that it can get into the recommended WHO threshold, which is the 5 nephelometric turbidity units. So this is not to say the water is safe, because the clarity of the water does not necessarily mean the water is safe for consumption. So this actually are becoming alarming, because now we need to actually look for an advanced technology that can remove these heavy metals, and this is very, very, very expensive. And I believe the EPA recently actually proposed a measure called the nanotechnology, which I think is impossible in my space, because looking at the explanation being given and how nanoliquid is going to, or copper-based nanoliquid is going to be applied to our water bodies, then we have to be ready to spend a lot, because in Ghana, for instance, our research shows that our 18 water bodies or rivers have been contaminated. Yes, and there's nothing like a perfect system when it comes to decommissioning or removing of these heavy metals. It has been tried in the US and other countries, but there's nothing like 100% detoxification system. And I think the one that was done in US in Detroit River, they spent about $1 billion United States dollars in just removing some of 80% of the heavy metals from their water bodies. So 1 billion, and we have 18 water bodies being destroyed or being contaminated in our country. So imagine multiplying 1 billion United States dollars by 18. It's going to be about 18 billion United States dollars. And I think we are still gambling with IMF 3 billion. So this is actually costly if you want to even employ. And remember, I listened to the EPA boss, and I think she did mention that they've tried it in vitro. Meaning, when we say in vitro, meaning it's done in a test tube in the lab, and it's
Thank you very much, Yakubu Adam, toxicologist, helping us conclude the conversation. Thank you, Edudzi Tamaklo, for making the time. It's always important.
Before you leave me, as you are well, we have concluded a good IMF program, and we have only one review left in 2026, and we'll conclude it. And you can see the handlers of the economy are doing exceedingly well, the finance minister and the governor of the Bank of Ghana. So far, so good.
Thank you.
Sure,
Dr. Tsubuahi as well.
Sure.
We're also going for a break. When we come back, we'll bring you the latest sports headlines, and you know that the Black Stars.
So far, so good. Uti nsema lawyer Edudzi Tamaklo editu Ghana na chese nyamieni no koridi NDC for ebo Muhammadin omu bibia se Galamsey ntokwano omu betimi akon ne nkodin so na Ghana yetimi afa ye ntoma pa ati afra because ayade a eha papa nyamieni no koridi Galamsey issues with you yakase enha adwen na eyagudi because ohwe according to omo Ghana Water Company utiyo omo nsem omo ka the kind of alumaya omo de ka home before they can filtrate and before they can purify the water to our consumption no and say first no mu yusu yebeka se no mu yusu 50 millimeters ml ene omo yusu about 100 ml and they can home. It tells you say so no are contaminated, and the more we keep moving as a nation, the more Ghana into any yensase say, and it is sad. It's really sad to wake up and hear say Galamsey I that. Ghana, we have a nation to build. So why would we spend our money on something which we can easily put a stop to that? Adie ebitimi se nkanya aban bia enka adie wi enya adie bia keke na nya adie bia se nka ene yaje airtime with TV so any other platform so ye discuss about Galamsey, of which ye won krofo binom mo diga na sika andra na me hwe one video bia trendy e wo kwalebu the managing directors any board members omo ono kwalebu omuko PM ewo public accounts committee omu animu ni sika bi omu yeye nkondwa bi omu beto omu imagine so omu beto nkondwa no meanwhile no na omu trash him say omu akoto about something 17,000 or so ana mi bisa me ho say anye kwalebu hono ma komfa nochi mo fa nche komfa nochi anye komfa nochi hono ma na yi no na openso otumfo asantima wura na pia wo mebo me mu ase de mo ojiji sika brand NPP tiso oye fundraising meanwhile no say sika na ojiji no odi koye was children's ward nisa renovation ewo hono any maternity ward. You see ojiji say sika na wono nani abra oye sa anyimani nyina no na nkofo bi nso na nkuntuna se omo yeden omo eyeden edi say sika no and oye say ya ebeboa oye Ghana ni de wato adwuma no so that say politicians akromfo anye politicians na nkwan omo akromfo na mum yetimamufo nso ye mu binum ye de yetutu nnwuma no romanfo ye wo ya de bia crucifixion, proud to Easter, crucifixion on the Friday, Good Friday, ye kinkaya. You see, aya no moka se ye ma moka ne sen omoka we me pese menye ne yi aya na ye kinkan bibi fi ye book ne mu na bibi na ye kinkan no aya na ye ka se ye ma abrafo no a omo etwa Yesu mpre no ye bo mochi yenso enema bi a ye na asasi so enema bi a sebi di bia bi omo de maye a yentimi hwɛ so yie ɔman agyapade bi a yɛhwɛ so a yentimi hwɛ so yie ɛma Yesu ɛne sɛbi ɔno nso di yaw bebree wate aseɛ enti ɛya sɛ yɛde ɔman agyapade bɛhyɛ wo nsa na wahyɛ da akɔ school managing director hwane director na wobɛkɔ akɔtena facility hospital kɛseɛ te sɛ Kɔmfanoche na mobɛyɛ over invoiced deɛ wɔsɛ mo ntotɔ no mogye bi bɛka ho mobɛma no kyɛ sɛ ɛyɛ sad mpanyinfoɔ paa mmienu ɛna ɔmo anim adane ɛna ɔmo tetew no because of say we don't take good care of your properties a yɛwɔ and it is like obiara nya akwanya a ɔpɛ sɛ ɔkyikyi ne nua every single opportunity obi benya bia no he or she wants to what cheat the nation. Ɛka ho bi na ama Ghana agyigya no ɛka ho bi na ama Ghana nkɔ so politicians no mu wia na timamufo so wia politicians mu wia na timamufo so wia esi dan na ɔman na kɔ n'anim abusua nti Galamsey mata ne deɛ sɛdeɛ na Edudzi Tamaklo wato no boase na ɔkyerɛkyerɛ mu na ɔka sɛ ɛyɛ collective responsibility no ampa ina uti so unu ye Galamsey a ye kuro nketewa ni mo bi sɔre ya me kɔ gala nse no mo kan Roland ɔsɛ ya me kɔ gala me kɔ yam me kɔ yesi andra me hu video bi that it wasn't yesterday but me hu video bi last week ana nkɔda nketewa bi egina Galamsey site chamfan ho na mo de wohoro na mo ka an ye yam o se o de tena ona bisa o maami say you see some kind of funny ways. And Ghana police hasn't arrested this guy. Oya kwadaketua oya under age 18 kwenye omani ewo Galamsey site. So all these things we need to take responsibility over it. Who say bibi koswa awasemuma enkofo ya we ka say oh akonu na wanya bibi no ye aban na nya na Galamsey na all fight. Say yes sir. Oman he begina yi as a nation. So why dream of comment section. Mesro so odo comment beton wa like na wa share na wa subscribe to the channel me sense hano if you number one authentic platform mega TV yankopon koso a ehira good morning good week what you say have a blessed have a blissful week and what a wonderful week what you say yankopon bibi kwan emfamam. Congratulations to Ghana Blaster, our senior national team, and congratulations to all of Ghanaians. So finally you're making it to the World Cup. Yemfa unsi